Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 5:06, and it's Tuesday morning, the 2nd day of December, and we're expecting an ugly commute this morning as rain, wintry mix, sleety, snowy, slushy stuff is already starting to fall out from the sky out in the southern and western areas of our region. D.C. right now looking at some precipitation coming down around Reagan Airport, but the temperatures are hovering above freezing. Usually it dips a little bit in the morning. It's a weird phenomenon. Right before sunrise, the temperatures dip. You would think when the sun comes out, it gets warmer. I've watched this every morning of my life here for the last decade and a half. So we'll see if we start getting some white stuff in D.C. proper, but you're probably seeing some stuff if you look out the window right now. But we don't know how long it'll last. Either way, it's not going to be pretty. People act like idiots when they're driving around and stuff falls from the sky, even when it's just rain or cold rain or slushy rain. So stick here with us. We're going to give you updates meteorologically. Can you say that? Don't laugh at me, Julie. You try it. Go ahead.
Good grief, that is hard.
Thank you. Because you want to say meteorologist, but you did. So try it again.
Meteorologically.
See, you can't say it without sounding drunk.
And I haven't been drinking.
That's what you get for laughing at me.
I know.
I'm watching you.
Wow.
We will give you updates meteorologically. I sound like Kamala Harris at a public event.
You do.
I think I give all the meteorological updates. We're going to tell you about the weather and the roads all morning long and keep you safe, I promise. And also about school closures. We'll have all those updates, of course, on the website, WMAL.com, and during our news. I don't want to call them a news break because it's a vital part of our communication effort here. It's not a news break. Why do they call them news breaks?
Oh, dear.
That's a weird thing. Oh, no, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole.
You are. You're a little, well... Yeah.
News is an integral part of our morning program, and when it's time for our news, at the top and bottom of every hour, we'll give you all the school updates as well. School delays, school shutdowns. Also at 5:35, we'll talk to our friend, the meteorologist at WJLA, Jordan Evans. 7:05, Cully Stimson of the Heritage Foundation. 7:35, Dr. Mark Siegel on Trump's MRI result. Show us the MRI.
Oh, God.
And then at 8:35, our friend Kurt Schlichter. Well, it did not take long, did it, for suddenly the boat strike narrative to shift. The New York Times, of all organizations, has had to walk back the story that the Washington Post and I think NBC News and who else ran with this thing. So let's
all did.
Reframe again what the story. CNN, of course. Oh, Natasha Bertrand. That's right.
Of course.
Natasha Bertrand, who is now at CNN, was a Politico. I can't remember where she was before that. Natasha Bertrand has spent the last 10 years taking anonymous leaks from Trump haters, running with the story. Everyone ballyhoos the story. No need for more sources on this.
Right.
No need to go to the people who are being charged with the attack and the anonymous attack and getting the truth from them. They run with the story. Everybody's hair is on fire. That's it. It's impeachable. It's a war crime. In this case, it was a war crime. They were readying the Nuremberg trials. Mm-hmm. They were fitting Jasmine Crockett with a robe to be one of the judges in the Nuremberg trial on the War Crimes Committee for Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. And the story was that in the initial Venezuelan boat strike, a strike, by the way, that we've all seen the video of.
Right.
But, yeah.
No.
That the initial strike from SEAL Team 6 did not fully destroy everyone on the boat, and Hegseth picked up the phone and with his arteries throbbing in his neck and blood pouring down his face because of the stress and anger and fury, he screamed into the phone, "Kill them all!
Kill them all!"
Destroy
straight out of a Tom Clancy
one of them.
novel.
And a moral, ethical, good-hearted admiral on the other end of the line said, "But sir, that would be wrong. We cannot do that.
Meanwhile,
we're the SEAL team. We don't kill people." Oh, wait a second.
Meanwhile, the Maryland dads on the Venezuelan boat.
Yes. These are just Maryland parents, as far as we know, on a joyride at 1 in the morning.
A margarita on a Sunday afternoon.
And Pete Hegseth says, I don't care about the Geneva Conventions, and I don't care about American law. Kill them all. Slaughter them. And, of course, then the SEAL team went back and killed everybody.
Yeah.
Now, the New York Times has now got a more complete version of the story, shall we say.
Yeah.
Turns out, oh, never mind. Never mind
happened.
about all of that.
Right.
But see, this leak fit perfectly in the narrative timeline that Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin needed.
There you go.
To ward off the calls for them to be, criticized, or in the case of Mark Kelly, actually prosecuted for violating military
Isn't that
law.
Interesting, Larry, how
by undermining the chain of command.
They warn the military you don't have to,
follow illegal orders.
These illegal orders, and then there's suddenly an illegal order. I mean, that was after weeks of them not being able to name any illegal orders.
There was that middle step.
There was questions of like, well, can you name one? Well, no, but I saw a movie where there was
a few good men. Haven't you seen it? You can't handle the
Nuremberg
truth.
Trials, you know. So
you're
then,
right. That's the important intermediary step. First, they say, you must not follow illegal orders, and then everyone said, okay, are there illegal orders? Then they can't answer it, and then suddenly, boom! Here's the Washington Post
and
CNN and Natasha Bertrand with an illegal order.
But
now it turns out it wasn't an illegal order, but it got them through another Sunday.
Yes, it
of
did.
Meet the Press.
It did.
It allowed them to change the topic.
And it gets enough of the public because remember, we had a National Guard soldier murdered, right? After being told that, Lee Slotkin said, it's inevitable that the National Guard's going to shoot people.
That the National Guard would turn their guns on innocent Americans, and then you have a National Guardsman shot, and now we have a mental health crisis. And the real problem. You're right. There is a mental health crisis.
How many people are going to believe
Elise
this?
Slotkin and Mark Kelly's Trump derangement syndrome is the mental health crisis.
Yes.
All right. So, and by the way, back to the original narrative. Nobody really thought this through. We talked about this yesterday, but let me just reiterate, because for everybody who is like clutching their pearls and upset that SEAL Team 6 or any of our special forces are often told that their mission is to kill everybody in sight. Yes. I'm sorry that bothers you.
Right.
But
we are not living in a... Also, you know what? Animals don't act like they act on Disney, okay? Like, they will kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, don't try to do any of that Jungle Book stuff when you're in India, okay? Because they're all Shere Khan. Shere Khan? Meteorologist. All right. Thank you. Shere Khan. Yeah, I got it right. Nobody stopped to think about this original narrative for a second. So the SEAL team, and again, we talked about it a little bit, but it's good to lay this out for everybody. SEAL team was ordered, this boat is full of terrorists, narco-terrorists. They've been deemed an enemy. They're an unlawful combatant. Destroy the boat, everything on it, and everyone on it. That's the order. So the initial strike goes. Now, the story we are told is that there were survivors from the initial strike, and Hegseth commanded a second order to destroy anyone that might have survived, which we're told is a violation of the conventions of war. That's still to be adjudicated. Part of the reason why we'll talk to Cully Stimson at 7:05 and Kurt Schlichter at 8:35 about that, because they're both lawyers, they're both members of the military, retired, and Cully in particular was a JAG officer. Because Mark Kelly says, call your JAG officer next time you get an order, which is brilliant.
God, yeah.
Everybody, what is this like? The billboards you see. If you've had an accident, call 1-800-SUE them. Right? Everybody's got the little phone number while they're out in the field when they're given orders. Oh, hang on. Let me call my lawyer before I execute that order. So that was the original story. We're going to think through the logic of that story because the initial story made no sense, obviously. But then we'll give you what has now been revealed late last night, early morning press of the New York Times, what the real story is. And it's not any surprise, nothing like you've been told.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
So understand that this is not, some battleship that's being destroyed and there's a bunch of crew members and, people who work in the galley, and engineers and stuff, who, by the way, still, when it comes to wartime, are still combatants.
Yeah.
This is a terrorist boat. There's 5 people on it. And they're in a speedboat powering up through the Caribbean bringing drugs. All right. The cargo is drugs. And the passengers, the crew, are all terrorists. So the initial order is destroy the boat, destroy its contents, destroy its passengers, destroy the people on it. Everyone. No one walks away. Which is pretty normal, I think, in this kind of attack, right?
Yeah.
So the narrative is that there was a second strike ordered. The first story was that Hegseth had done it. Or actually, some people are now telling me that the Washington Post never said in the first story that Hegseth ordered the second strike. But that certainly became the narrative, which is typical. It's like the game of telephone.
They implied it.
They did imply it. But now Washington Post said, well, we never said Hegseth called for the second strike.
Oops. Right.
But the order was there was a second strike and that there were survivors. All right, so think this through for a minute. If there was a second strike, and the original, very first response from the Pentagon was, well, there was still debris, and some of that was the drugs, and everything was supposed to be destroyed on the boat. So we circle back, and you clean up and make sure that everything else sinks to the bottom of the ocean, right? But the argument was that there were survivors. Now, first of all, I don't believe that there were survivors because I've seen the video. No one survives that, all right? But they're trying to paint a picture like it's the final scene from Titanic, and like
exactly.
Leo DiCaprio is clinging on to the door that he could easily have climbed up on and been saved, but no.
You're absolutely right. They are trying to create a narrative, this sort of sad story.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
That they're drifting and said, oh, mi abuela, please, por favor, save me.
Right.
It's like Dora the Explorer and Boots the monkey out there just asking for help. And they just destroy them. But think about this for a minute. If somehow some of the terrorists survived the strike, why do we kill the terrorists? Why do we kill them? We kill them because they're a threat to America.
That's right.
That's why we kill them. We kill the terrorists, and nobody says that's illegal. Not one, as deranged as these people are, no one's saying that it's illegal for the president and the Secretary of Defense and the military to kill a terrorist who's been deemed a threat to America. The only argument you can make is that the narco-terrorists from Venezuela are not a threat to America, and even the Democrats aren't making that case yet. They will. They will eventually. So why do you kill the terrorists? Because they're a threat to America. So if you try to kill the terrorist and the terrorist lives, the threat's still there, isn't it? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Any survivor of that attack is still a threat to America because they're terrorists, and you kill them. The other option is you capture them, you send them to Gitmo, and 25 years later, a liberal Democrat will give them a plea deal, like Joe Biden did with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. We've learned that lesson, thank you. The terrorists are to be killed. So even the original story never made any sense, because if there were survivors who were meant to be killed in a strike, you kill those survivors because those survivors are a threat to America. That's the point. But now we have the New York Times headline. Hegseth ordered a lethal attack, but not the killing of survivors, officials say. According to 5 U.S. officials who spoke separately and on the condition of anonymity. So, see, we can do anonymous leaks, too. Mr. Hegseth, ahead of the September 2nd attack, ordered a strike that would kill the people on the boat and destroy the vessel and its purported cargo of drugs. But each official said Mr. Hegseth's directive did not specifically address what should happen if a first missile turned out not to fully accomplish all of those things. The official said his order was not a response to surveillance footage showing that at least 2 people on the boat survived the first blast. Admiral Bradley ordered the initial missile strike and then several follow-up strikes that killed the initial survivors and sank the disabled boat. As the operation unfolded, they said Mr. Hegseth did not give any further orders to him. They act like the problem is they watch too much television, and they think that Hegseth was sitting in, some sort of giant room with television screens in front of him, and he was like ordering this step by step as if it was a video game. That's not how these things go.
Yeah.
And now the truth, what's remarkable about this, though, Julie, is that 10 years ago, the New York Times would not have followed up and would not have actually credibly reported any truth about this story. They would have carried the Washington Post's water and CNN's water, and they would have continued this false narrative as long as it hurt Trump. It's remarkable that within 48 hours, they've now come out with the actual story.
It is remarkable. But I also want to say one other thing that's remarkable about this is President Obama allowed a drone strike that killed 12 members of a party going to a wedding. Okay? Most of them were civilians.
Thank you.
Democrats didn't care, didn't talk about it, worked actively to get the media to move on. The media complied. There were some reports that came out about this. Obviously, the right of center media reported on it, but I cannot tell you how quickly this left the sort of media space. Obama killed. It was something like 15 civilians, children, the bride, because they were going to a wedding,
and a U.S. citizen,
and a U.S. That's right, and a U.S. citizen.
Yep.
And they didn't care.
They didn't.
This
care.
is again.
No, they ran cover for it. They
ran cover for it. Absolutely. This is again a clear example of Trump derangement syndrome. Get him, get him, get him. No matter do whatever we have to do to get this guy out of office, and they're going to continue to do this. They're going to continue to do this for the next 3.5 years.
That's right. This is another reason why you need to make sure in the midterms the Democrats do not get the majority. Can you imagine the investigations, the impeachments? There will be 2 more impeachments. This is all they've got. It's all they know. Again, noteworthy that the New York Times actually ran with a more appropriate version of the story. I was about to say the truth. Lord knows, I'm the last person to tell you what the truth is.
Yeah.
But these facts certainly undermine the original narrative from the Washington Post. As I said later this morning at 7:05, Cully Stimson, retired Navy captain, JAG officer, he'll give us his thoughts, and then at 8:35, Kurt Schlichter. It's 5:24.
Coming up, we'll talk to WJLA's meteorologist, Jordan Evans, on the snowy commute. Keep it here. It's 5:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:37. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for joining us this Tuesday morning right here where you belong. Coming up, 7:05, Cully Stimson. Now, he is a retired captain from the Navy. He's also a JAG officer. He knows a thing or two about legal and illegal orders and the chain of command, and he's going to shed some light on this discussion that the country seems to be having over Senator Mark Kelly and whether it was appropriate for him to say the things that he did about the current Secretary of War, and the Commander-in-Chief. Also at 7:35, Dr. Mark Siegel will join us, talk about the controversy around Trump's MRI results. And then at 8:35, Kurt Schlichter, also a lawyer, also a retired 06 from the Army this time, not the Navy. So we got you covered on both major branches, big branches, large branches. I'm sorry. All the branches are major. I'm going to get in trouble. Go Navy, beat Army. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Let's talk about the weather, shall we? Because we have the cold stuff falling from the sky. I don't know if it's white stuff. It's certainly not fluffy white stuff. What is this stuff, Jordan Evans, meteorologist at WJLA? Either way, it's going to make the commute nasty.
Hey, good morning. Sorry, I'm outside the studio right now. Get back inside.
Whoa. What's going on? We've got police activity in Rosslyn, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, let me get back inside. I was actually outside just trying to see what exactly is falling because our radar, now we're back inside, all good now. Our radar is showing, again, a lot of the different colors. We've got the pink that indicates the sleet, some of that mixed precip. Farther to the west, we do have some freezing rain concerns. So that's where we'll see most likely the slick spots with the winter weather advisories. The rest of us, it's just a cold rain. As we track these temperatures, I heard them just a few minutes ago, about 35, 36 degrees. That is crucial. Staying above freezing, that'll keep most of the slick spots away.
But this stuff when it's up in the clouds and up in the upper atmosphere, it's obviously much colder up there. So does it start as snow or ice or what is it as it's falling, and then does it change? Does that make it more dangerous too?
Yeah, as we do track the temperatures aloft, it's all about what goes on a few thousand feet up. And really, if we were to have sort of an opposite scenario, if we had freezing temperatures here at the ground, but we had a warm layer at 4,000 feet, that would be the recipe for widespread freezing rain. But fortunately, the column all the way up is much colder. So it is falling as snow, and then once it gets down about 2,000 or 3,000 feet, it is melting into rain.
Gotcha.
I'm seeing some mixed messages. Fairfax County Schools is sending out one message saying they're open, another message saying we're monitoring, we may be closed, we may be on a two-hour delay. So some mixed messages coming out. Have you seen any other notifications about school closures?
At least here at our studios, yeah, we've been listing off a few late starts. I personally am not aware of full-on closures. If those are happening, I would bet those are farther northwest. We do have more concerns with a few inches on the ground, potentially closer to the Pennsylvania state line. But again, nothing's going to stick today in the D.C. area. If we do have some icy patches, that'll quickly melt away as the temperatures warm by 7 or 8 o'clock.
Great.
And also looking at the graphics you guys have good graphics, by the way. Do you draw all those
Thank
yourselves? You. Is that
Yeah, we put all these together.
Nice. It looks like it's all sort of this column that stretches north and west from D.C., almost like straight along the Virginia border there, along the Potomac, as it's stretching up northward there. So if you're like in the eastern part of D.C. and out toward the Chesapeake Bay or south near Woodbridge, when's it hitting you, or when it hits you, is it going to be very different?
I don't think so. I mean, again, a lot of this is the cold rain. And you mentioned D.C., Eastern Maryland, over toward the Bay. That's where we actually have temperatures warmer, and that's why you don't have the winter weather advisories. So most of those spots are around 35, 36 degrees. So that cold rain for, I'd say, almost 90% of the metro. Once you get closer to Highway 15, northern Montgomery County, that's where we have the potential for some slick spots, and that potential increases farther northwest. So Hagerstown, Pennsylvania state line, Western Maryland, that's where we could have maybe 2 to 3 inches by this afternoon.
All right. So what do you right now as you're covering it? It's basically just super cold rain right now, and maybe the mix might be hitting later in the morning, or not at all because temperatures are rising as the snowy type of mix stuff is moving in.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're not seeing that mixed precipitation now, you're probably not going to see it later because you're right. Temperatures will slowly come up. So what you see now is probably anything that's frozen that's going to happen. But as I mentioned, I was just standing outside our studio here in Roslyn. Right now it's a cold rain. Cars are driving by just fine. People have their umbrellas out.
Good.
I also had mine. So, but yeah, like you said, though, closer to northwest, may have some icy spots still.
So maybe just past Frederick, maybe into Hagerstown, you might be getting it. But then, yeah. All right, so here's the big question then. When are we getting snow? Everybody wants to know this. I don't know why it's such a big deal that they get snow before Christmas, but they want to know.
Yeah, well, welcome to December. We finally get some cold air. And, I'll have to be honest, just real quick. I mean, we saw this cold air coming by mid-November, and we saw that because in the stratosphere, that is about 40,000 feet up above the North Pole, it was actually warming. And whenever we see that, that is some signs that cold air is about to get lodged south into either the lower 48, parts of Russia, parts of Europe. We're getting it this time. So this cold air is here to stay for at least the next week or two. So the question is, can we get snow? Well, we need weather makers to move through. This one wasn't cold enough. We may have another chance Friday night, but that chance is 30% so far. So stay tuned. We need cold air. We need moisture. We'll track it all.
Jordan Evans, just so you know, Katy Perry is my favorite astronaut, and you mentioned the stratosphere. Now, when Katy Perry had her, what was it, 6 minutes in space? Was that in the stratosphere? Was it beyond the stratosphere? I always get my spheres mixed up.
I would like to say yes, that was likely beyond. I don't know their approximate altitude. It was several miles up, but the stratosphere usually
You weren't expecting
starts...
this question.
No. I mean, but the stratosphere starts right about where the planes fly, slightly above that. So
Okay, so Katy Perry has actually stretched beyond the stratosphere and has gone.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
good.
correct.
Really a groundbreaking astronaut, that Katy Perry. Thank you, Jordan. Always good to talk
Thank
with
you,
you. Have a
Jordan.
good morning. Stay safe.
Thank you, too.
It's 5:43.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
A little embarrassing, Julie. You know, when you're a meteorologist, much of what you study is, sort of space and space travel. It seemed that he wasn't really plugged in on Katy Perry's life as an astronaut. I didn't mean to put him on the spot like that.
Yeah, expecting to talk about snow, and was asked about Katy Perry. Imagine not being prepared.
He raised the
I
stratosphere.
thought he did a great job.
He's fantastic. We love Jordan. He's a good Midwestern boy, found himself here in D.C., having to talk to someone like me. So we had Scott Jennings on yesterday, and we wanted to talk to him about, important stuff and about his book and about, his life on CNN. I wanted to get to this story, but let's revisit it real fast because there's a bit of a kerfuffle growing, and it's grown now in the last 24 hours because he's expanded on it, Scott has. And that is a war between Scott Jennings and Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck? How is that happening?
Yeah.
Well, here's what happened. Scott Jennings on that panel show on CNN that nobody watches, but everybody watches the clips of Scott Jennings afterwards, squared off with a liberal talking head named Dylan Douglas. This happens to be the Nepo baby son of Michael Douglas, excuse me, and Catherine Zeta-Jones. And it didn't go well for the young Mr. Douglas. Here, take a listen, cut two.
You cannot put on the American people that Democrats were the one that were hurting people, making this plight.
Who was casting the votes against opening the government, Democrats or Republicans?
Who was wanting to cut?
Who was casting the votes?
Scott, who was wanting to cut SNAP benefits?
Nobody.
And
Republicans
who was playing up SNAP benefits after two courts ruled that it was unallowed?
Republicans voted to fund SNAP 15 times. Democrats voted to defund it 15
and you talk
times.
About the affordable.
It was bad. And by the way, it doesn't help that this guy, he's got sort of he looks exactly how you would imagine.
He's been pampered his whole life. I'm sure he's never been told no. I'm sure he's never really faced a tough debate. He grew up in L.A., for goodness sake, okay? When their family weren't in their, they have I think they have some Spanish villa, okay? So, talk about pampered. He grows up in a bubble, okay? Probably never really had an actual debate. And boy, you don't want your first one to be against Scott Jennings.
He's just 24, maybe 25 years old, and he's by the way, I'm guessing he's going to have a film career with that lineage.
No.
I don't know why he's engaged in political debates right now because he looks like a movie actor. Anyway, Jennings went in for the kill shot here. Listen.
So they wanted a fight, but they found a fight that was worth fighting with talking about the Affordable Health Care Act. People were with them. Democrats were leading in the polls. We won big on Tuesday.
That's what it was for, right? It was for the election, right?
Well, I think we should have kept going. What I don't understand, and which I would love others to help me out and understand, I don't understand why we caved so soon when the American people seem to be on our side.
Because the election ended. You just said it. It was for the election. The election ended.
Hold on a second.
I love that everybody has to jump in and help him out.
Yeah.
Come to his rescue. All right. Well, so then Michael Douglas. I keep saying Mike Douglas because I think it's the Irish talk show host that was so affable back in the 70s. Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones came to their son's rescue as they always would, and they were very angry. They were very upset and displeased that
Mommy and Daddy have come to the rescue. Imagine how
That's right.
this kid has lived his life, right? And then he goes on CNN. Yeah.
Scott was on Meghan McCain's podcast yesterday in the middle of the day and was asked about this. And he said, oh, yeah, I remember that. I dismantled him. He's like, Scott's dancing on the grave of one Dylan Douglas now. But I love that celebrity mom and dad are trying to come to his rescue now and jump in and fight for him. How humiliating must that be?
They are incandescent with rage.
Who are they angry at? CNN for putting him in there?
Scott Jennings, of
Scott's
course,
fault
right? Scott
for doing
Jennings.
his job.
This is the thing about Scott Jennings too. He dismantled him, but he does it in such a charming way. He has that sort of smile on his face. He just asked questions, very Socratic, right? He just asked questions. Wait, like who voted to shut down the government? Who voted to fund SNAP benefits? He makes the person really face what they're suggesting and then throws facts at them. It's brilliant. It's great, and it's totally civilized.
How dare you let him tell the truth to my son?
That's right.
According to the Daily Caller, Zeta Jones vented to friends that CNN set Dylan up for failure. And Douglas believed the network crossed a line by letting the exchange turn into an on-air humiliation. Insiders say the couple is so outraged they intend to blacklist the whole network going forward.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these two, Zeta Jones, Michael Douglas, hey, look, they had great careers. Haven't really seen them around lately. I think CNN is just fine if those two blacklist them.
Meanwhile, recently humiliated political pundit Dylan Douglas has announced that he'll make his film debut in the psychological thriller I Will Come to You, produced by Cathedral Collective and Tripwire Entertainment, due in 2026. So there you go. He's moving on with his film career. It's 5:53.